First of all, I want, since anyone who read the piece on the writer of the piece in Hyperallergic is here today, Amy Levine Kennedy. So you should read the piece that she wrote on the Phillips collection. It was an amazing piece. So
yeah, I'll send one second. I'll send out just to remind everybody. In the end of the session, you'll receive the notes and the links and a lot of the things that we're going to talk about. So no worries. Just relax and enjoy the show.
Yay. So today, something very special happened on Thursday this past week. I teach a class at SVA, School of Visual Arts, where I take my students to openings and galleries very similar to this. But the opening of the Gerhard Richter show was opening at 6 o'clock on Thursday night. And I was very lucky that one of the directors of the museum saw me during our class time at 3, and I stood at the door and I said, "Can you let my students in?" And the regular person said no. And then a second person came, and since everyone who knows me, I don't give up. I saw the director in the back and I knocked on the window and I went like that. And he came to the front and I said, "Do me a favor. These are my students. They know all about Gerhard Richter. Let them come in the show." And he said, "There's a press meeting in 15 minutes. If you can get them in and out before then, we can come in." So we got in to see the show before the press saw it, and it got a rave review this weekend. So I'm changing that is going to be our first gallery visit. But before we start, I want to talk about Gerhard Richter. He's in his 90s. He showed for years with Marion Goodman Gallery, who I think is one of the best galleries in the world. But the thing that was so important is he decided, since he knew that he's not going to live for another 90 years, he wanted a gallery that would be good for his estate. And it's very different being a gallery that represents a living artist and an estate. And David Zwirner and Hauser and Wirth are both known to be amazing for estates. My good friend Jack Whitten, who I've shown you, went to Hauser and Wirth because he knew he was not well. He moved there at like 75. Unfortunately, he passed away at 78. But what's happened to his estate since his death is mind-boggling, and that's because he's a gallery like that. So I want to start off the show showing you a video of Gerhard Richter working, and he says in the New York Times review, and we're going to send you that too, they talk about the fact that he decided he would stop painting 2 years ago because he couldn't do huge paintings anymore. And when you look at this, you'll see why. And the show that he has up now, none of the paintings are that big. So he was able to use the squeegee, which you'll see in the video. So let's see that first. I'm open to questions. There are two men holding that squeegee from the other side. You don't see it here. Okay, so now we're going to go to the show and you'll understand why the paintings are much smaller. He's now in his 90s. He did that when he was in his 70s. So now we're going to see the exhibition that's on now that's getting rave reviews. So look at the scale. You can understand that it's a very different process when things are 12 inches or 5 feet by 5 feet versus 20 feet or 10 feet by 12 feet. So that's the way the show looks. There are 4 rooms. I was just there. And now we're going to look at what's written here. We'll stop right here for a minute. David Zwirner is pleased to represent an exhibition of new and recent paintings by Gerhard Richter. The exhibition presents a group of Richter's last paintings. He will never make paintings again. That was his decision from 2016 and 17. They're shown here for the first time. Though he finished it in 2017, he's doing, so you can see all this. It's a very interesting to know that these are the last works done by an artist. I find that riveting. Sophia, would you mind reading that second one? Richter has produced a new glass installation.
A new glass installation that continues his exploration of the human perspective and the built environment. An expansive suite of new works on paper from 2001 to 2002, some made with ink and others with graphite and colored pencil, are also on view, as well as works related to the artist's Mood series of colored ink sketches. As Richter Swartz notes, Richter's New York has transformed into a celebration of the visible, and this celebration is driving new chapters in his I can't read this creativity.
It means like this amazing, deep, fat,
thank you.
Jill, whatever creativity.
Yeah. Should we see some of the works?
Yes, that's what I want to see. Yes. Go down a little further. No, keep going down. There he is. I wanted you to see, like, stay there for a minute.
Yep.
I wanted you to see, first of all, he looks so nechmad. He looks so sweet. And what is very powerful for me, he's standing right by his glass works. And in the gallery, the glass pieces in the middle of the room, and then the paper pieces are on the wall. They also put them right next to each other, obviously, because that way they have more on there, but it's like getting into the artist's mind. Let's keep going. I love that he's wearing a black t-shirt, a blue shirt, and then that. Now look at this. This is his glass work. So he's very interested. I would love to hear your opinions. I don't want to talk about this. I will, but I'd rather you look at it. He's interested in you becoming part of the subject of the art. So in other words, like Dan Graham is another artist who uses glass. This to me is fascinating because you're looking through, you see the way she's seeing her own shadow of herself in the 2 other pieces. If you go by the Modern in New York, you'll see a Dan Graham piece outside where one of the pieces is rounded. It sounds crazy, but I find this quite beautiful because when you look at yourself in a mirror, you are seeing the opposite of yourself. When you look at yourself through glass, you're seeing multiple versions of yourself. I don't know if you noticed, she's standing there with her hands crossed, but you see her on the side glass right there. Thank you, God, I love doing this with you. And then there is the other one. And when you walk around the space, my students were only allowed to be in the gallery for 15 minutes. And we spent 9 of the minutes here because everyone was so blown away because the art on the wall never changes, but the art of looking through glass always changes. We have a Noguchi table in our house that I got from my great uncle and great aunt. And every time kids come over on Shabbat and they like playing on the glass on the top, the glass is very thick and they sort of see their own reflections. And when I went to the gallery and I saw this, I was so impressed yet again with the fact that Richter can do anything he wants visually. He's a very good figurative painter, very good conceptual painter, very good abstract painter, but he uses this, oh my God, Pistoletto, thank you. Wow, you are the best. You're right. Pistoletto does it with stainless steel mirrors. Can I see your face who said that just now? I'd love to see your face. Oh, there you are. Jane, thank you for bringing that up. I'm embarrassed that I didn't think of it, and I really thank you for saying that. We want to put Pistoletto in the thing. I've taken you to a Pistoletto show, by the way. Do you remember that? Ages ago, I did that. I love him. Anyway, so look at this again. So let's keep going down. And now you see it in the space. So I'm going to make believe you're with me in the room. So you enter the big room that has the little paintings. Then you go into the next room, which is this with the graphite pieces with this mirrored piece. Not mirrored, I take that back, it's glass. And the back room, there are these beautiful watercolor. So those are all done with graphite. I heard the show was almost all sold out. So if you wanted to buy one, I'm sorry, I don't think there are any available. Let's keep going down. And look at that again. Watch the way the glass changes the whole room. Do you start noticing outside? This is an exploration. This is not in the space, but it's just showing you how the glass can really change your environment. And I'm very curious.
Don't they, Toby? These glasses move.
Yes, yes, but that's why I said it's not in that. These glasses should move, and that is why you notice the beautiful trees outside. And it's very different than the glass piece in the show in New York right now. But let's keep going down. I just think he's truly a genius. And that, wait, stop right there. That's from, I wanted you to see this. That's why I love this gallery. They're showing you in 1965. Go down further. That's one of his drapery paintings. Can you go down? You'll see the date right there. Whoops, go. All right. So they're showing you now different works of his in different places. And that's why I think he left Marion Goodman and went to this gallery, because they now show you how he thinks over 50 years. And that is what every artist dreams of, that you're not only the show that you have up. And that's why, you know, the show that was the most exciting show of my career was the show at the Phillips, because it showed work of mine from 1977 through 2020. If you're a serious artist, you want people to understand what you're thinking about. And you see that beautiful painting that has the buildings in the background, that's him painting photorealistically. So in other words, he has skill that I think he's one of the greatest living artists of our time. And I teach a program in Israel called Kivunim, and I took them to his 90th birthday we were in Berlin, and he had a show at the museum there, and you went through room after room after room of all his work. It was an amazing, it's one of the most exciting museum exhibitions I've ever seen. So look at how different the glass works when they're placed in different ways. You might say to me, Toby, glass is glass, and I'll say, nah, glass is not exactly glass. It's the way the glass is focused in the space. And as Sophia said brilliantly, some of them move, some of them are attached with, look at the way this comes off the ground. Each one is a different experience. Let's keep going down. And the installation in New York shows all different, you know, you'll see how amazingly different everything is. Keep going down. And then, yeah, that's what I wanted you to see. Look at these. Oh my God. Now, I don't know if you like them as much as I do, and I don't mind. We'll still be friends if you don't like them. But look right underneath the picture what they do. They put you can see it's signed 2022, but move up a little and you'll see what type of material it is. Keep going up now, the other way, a little. There it is. Ink and pencil on paper. It's 8 by 11. And what I love is, now move down a little so you can see it. It's so beautifully articulated. And what do I mean by that? Even though it's very, very small, you feel that there are many levels of dimension, and the way the ink and the graphite are put on the surface, it feels much more three-dimensional. And I find that beautiful. Now, there's an amazing English artist by the name of Nicholson. He was married to Barbara Hepworth. I'm now blocking on his first name. I love being able to say
Ben Nicholson.
Ben Nicholson, thank you. I always like to be able to say somebody who's married to the more famous is his wife, but I love Ben Nicholson's work also. And Nicholson works a lot with space. And I think these are brilliant. And what I'm proud of him is he's in his 90s and he's trying new things. I think this is very influenced by the glass, by the way. But that's only me. And she didn't write that in the Times. I think she should have. Let's keep going down. I know I'm spending a lot of time in the show, but I just love it. Take a look at that one. They're beautiful. And if you don't like them, again, you're allowed to not like them, but look at how subtle the color is, and look at how the line makes all the difference. There's also an amazing artist who I love, and I've taken you to see him too, Fred Sandback, who uses only string. I don't know if any of you know his work. I love his work. And these feel like these could be beautiful spaces. You know, they look like they move in space. Yeah, they look like broken glass. Very good. I love when you write things in there so I can answer what you're saying. Now look at this one more. Look at them. Now, let me show you what they did here. And this is, again, well, if anyone has a connection with David Zwirner and wanted me to change my life, get them to come to my studio, because I'd love to show with a gallery that thinks so much. They let you see how it's looking before it's hung on the wall. So in other words, you can see how it all plays together. Most galleries do not do this in their thing. They only show you the finished product. Keep going. And now you see, even though he's only using two different materials, they're totally different pieces. And here, this looks so three-dimensional. It almost looks like there's a figure inside of space. And what I find remarkable is he's changing the scale because he's in his 90s, and apparently his back is not so good, and he can't work on those huge things anymore. Keep going. And there are his paintings. They are so beautiful, but remember, these are much smaller than usual. Now you go the arrows and you'll see the room.
Toby, can I ask you a question?
You may do whatever you want.
Don't you find it strange that somebody declares that he's not going to paint anymore, especially if there's an artist and they've done work throughout their life and it's actually a way of living? What is behind that kind of declaration? So
I don't know, this was not a ploy because you and I didn't discuss this, but this is the question I wanted to answer. So thank you very much. He said he's not making art anymore. He's not doing these paintings anymore because he feels that I'm making this up, by the way. This is Tobi Kahn making this up. I don't know if it's true. So if it's being recorded and it goes online, Gerhard Richter's not my friend. I don't know him socially. I think he feels he can't do that. That's why I showed you the video first. They're very physical. And I will tell you the truth that I now always have an assistant in my studio, and I'm working on 3 big commissions right now. And I always have an assistant here to help me put them on the wall, take them off, because I physically can't do that alone anymore. I feel that, please God, I can have at least another 15 or 20 years of being able to do these paintings. But he's over 90, and I feel he doesn't think he'll do a good job, and I think he's right. And I think the reason the gallery put so much energy in showing you the ink and the graphite and also the watercolor and ink, not watercolor, they're ink, just ink with color, and some of them are done with photographs. I think these are the end of these, and I think he's a very smart man to do it. Look at Matisse's cutouts. He didn't do paintings anymore after he was in the wheelchair, but these are breathtaking. And I always think it's better to leave at the height of your career of doing something that he's not giving up making art. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
All right, let's keep going down. You can come back to this, but look at them up close. They're just exquisite. And I wanted you to see the video. You see how he gets the colors in there.
You know, the Israel Museum has a huge painting from the series.
Yeah, everyone has them.
It's the most expensive painting that the museum ever bought.
But they did the right thing. You remember we saw this video and where you're seeing him do this. I feel very honored to be showing you this. This was not, I know, isn't that beautiful? Thank you for giving that. Oh, Jane. And these are not in the gallery. These are in museums. So that's what the gallery is doing for you. So it's putting things in context. And these are in the back room. These are the pieces in the back room. They're not hung like this, by the way. They're just all like, this is just being, so you can see it. They're hung in one row around the space. And I think, so let's discuss this for a minute. Since you brought this up, Sophia, I think these relate to his big paintings, but they're a different mood. But these are only 8 by 10. You know, they're very small. So he's playing with space in a very different way. And go right underneath it, you'll see here, they're called mood. And they're, oh, that is, see, these I didn't see in that. I saw them like the ones on the left. I guess maybe I wasn't paying attention. That must have been that way on the wall there. Now read what we say. Go back up, go back up, go back up a little. You'll see right, no, go back down a little so you can read. Here it is. Mood series, Byler. These are all
Foundation Byler. They're not in the museum where the gallery.
Then I feel much better. Then I'm not in senile. So I didn't see them there. I told you I didn't think I saw them there. I said I must have missed it, but I missed it. Can you read that last sentence there? Look at this over here. This is beautiful. This provocative gesture has a certain charm.
Certain charm, since scarcely anyone without prior knowledge of them would be in a position to tell the copies from the originals. But by duplicating his images in this way, Richter has also distanced himself from them, since what at first seems random as a reproduction becomes an incontestable fact. Yeah.
So that's to me fascinating. So what he did in the back room, you'll see that he took photographs of some of his pieces and made them the exact same size. And he did 3 sets all together. I just think they're beautiful. And that's how I saw it. I knew I wasn't nuts. That is in the gallery again. That's how you walked in the gallery and you saw these.
Okay,
anyway,
Toby, I think we should move on.
Yes, we are. I was just going to say that. I was just going to say it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I hope you don't mind that I spent so much time. I apologize, but it totally blew me away.
I think it was fantastic. Fantastic. Who do you want to do next?
I want to go straight on. Now we're doing much quicker everything else. We're seeing PPOW
the video or the site?
Always start with the video because then everyone can understand it. And now we'll work quickly through the rest. Please don't be annoyed at me if I spend so much time, but it's a chance of a lifetime.
Okay, so PPO, which artist was that?
That's the top one. That's Hugh Locke.
Okay. Just tell me if you can hear.
Yes, you can. I can.
Hear?
Yeah.
When you make a piece of work, you see things one way, and the piece of work has a life of its own. So how this work is perceived over time will change and evolve, and that's how it should be, you know. The idea of who these people are, for me in the procession, it should be timeless because it needs to stretch beyond where we are now. My name's Hugh Locke. I'm an artist Sometimes I'm a sculptor, sometimes I'm a painter, sometimes I'm in photography. I was born in Edinburgh, and at the age of 5, I went to Guyana, and this would have been in the 60s. I arrived just in time for independence. So I saw the flag being designed. We were allowed to stay up at night to watch the handover from the British to Guyanese government. And that had quite an impact on me. And it gave me a lifelong interest in how nations are formed and what they choose as their symbols of nationhood. And that, in particular, has particular relevance to Britain and how and my approach to this country and how we accept what our images are. And that could stretch on even to ideas of who the national heroes are of this country, who gets a statue and who doesn't get a statue. And all of this stuff then feeds into ideas of nationhood, and it gives me inspiration in my particular practice. My work is influenced by many things, and autobiography is definitely one of them. I arrived in Guyana as a 5-year-old kid. I went there by boat because that's what you did in those days. And that had a kind of I think a deep psychological impact on me. And I've been making boat sculptures over the years. And I think there has a direct reference back to that journey. In Armada, there's nobody on these boats. They're empty of people. But the people who are traveling on it is you and me. Our minds go into the boats and we imagine a journey that we might take on them. The name Guyana means land of many waters, and to get anywhere, you'd have to go by boat. So it's not surprising that boats are part of who I am. They're containers for people trying to get to a new life. They're containers for a journey through life into death. There are others which have references to colonial issues, to conquistadors chasing gold. Some others have references to the Mediterranean refugee crisis. Boats are a metaphor for life, basically. The procession is about certain universal concerns, and they will always be there. I'm trying to tackle some really big, wide subjects over centuries and how things affect us today. But it's talking about the echoes of history, basically. What I'm trying to do is make something attractive to draw people in, and people go, what's that? What's that mean? What's that? And then start to question what the imagery is all about. It's highly detailed, and that's deliberate. So it will give reward to longer viewing. Is there lots of little bits of evidence, lots of little bit of hints, lots of bit of clues? The piece can be read as a sort of puzzle, which you can piece together. There's beauty there, I would like to think, but it's a complicated, messy kind of beauty. What I'm trying to do is create something which I personally find emotional and emotionally charged and emotionally moving. I hope that people will actually feel that they're part of something. I wanted the work not to be raised up above people's heads. I realized that the work needed to be human scale. We need to identify with these figures, even though they look strange and wearing weird masks and stuff like that. We need to identify with them. I think of the procession as an epic poem. It's a bit like a kind of national collective unconscious. It becomes part of who we are.
Okay, now we can see the show. That was good. That was perfect. So I just wanted you to understand, why did I put him right after Gerhard Richter? Because the way they make art is totally different. And here is the show that is on Broadway right now at PPOW. PPOW is an amazing gallery that shows, most of the work they show is quite political. And I want you to see how different it looks in a gallery than it does a museum. So here is, the boats are in the middle and there's not nearly as many. and then there are images on the wall that relate to them. So you'll say to me, Toby, do you think he is a great artist? And I would say, I think he is a great artist, but he's doing his work that is forcing you not like very different than what Gerhard Richter was doing, which is really about painting. This is more about storytelling, and storytelling from a political point of view. And the reason I wanted you to see the video first is he's trying to say to you, and thank you for doing this, of going through the images, Sophia, as if we're walking through the gallery and we're seeing this, that each section is hand done, and you really feel that he's teaching you something about his life and how we should see the world, that people are born in certain places, and these are the exhibited works. So I'm in love with this boat piece, and you'll say to me, Toby, why is it hanging from the ceiling? And the answer is, if you put it on the floor, you are looking down at it. And if you look at it from this vantage point, you could be at the water's edge or on the beach, seeing it very far in the distance, and you can relate to it more as a whole. These are beautiful drawings that were done. And I wanted you to see, when I decided to put the Gerhard Richter in the beginning, I respect artists who can do painting, sculpture, drawing, and they're not picking the medium for any other reason other than that's what they want to say. That means they can do whatever they want, but they're trying to get on this. Now, this is fascinating to me also. Go back one. I'm sorry to do that to you. I love that this is on a Indian, it's on a not a contract. I forgot what, a piece of paper that's used for stock. It's a piece of stock. You know, when you own stock in a company, you get these things. And then he does a beautiful drawing on there, and it tells you more of the story of the railway than what you, if you just had a piece of paper. I find this fascinating. It makes me think about Rauschenberg. It makes me think about other artists who use images from newspapers that take you on a journey that's not only about the material, but what you do. This I love again. You know, is thinking about how beautiful the work, and I would call it, is being articulated. I also love the framing device. So again, you get into his head, and very different than Richter, because it's his journey. It's not, it's more about his experience in life. If anyone has any questions, I'm watching my time, so I want to be careful. But I just think it's a breathtaking exhibition. I wish I could take you there. If anyone has any questions, put it in the chat and I'll answer. But let's go to the next. I think that's the end of the work in this show. And each show has a different number of works. I think that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed him.
So now we want to share the video of who?
Bill Viola. Anyone know Bill Viola? Raise your hand if
yes,
you do.
Bill Viola, yeah.
Bill Viola is one of my favorite living artists. I just think he's a genius, and this new show is gorgeous. So we're going through Tribeca and Chelsea, which we couldn't do if we were here in person, but we can do.
1 second. Okay. Tell me if, but just tell
That's
me.
it. That's it. We're not seeing all 6 minutes.
Is the single entity that, like the angels in the ancient world, or like Prometheus, you know, going up to the gods and down to earth, you know, the ones that can cross between the physical world and the non-physical world. Sound is the element that goes between them. So really, more than, for me, more than the image, which everybody thinks, oh yeah, you're a video artist, and I'm a well-known video artist, so you know the image is the most thing. No, it's the combination of sound and image, and I would say even my pieces that are silent have a kind of sound, because you can feel the movement in it, and you can understand that as a kind of chord.
How do you find out which sound fits to the...
That's a great question. No one's ever asked me that question. I think when I was very young,
See, here again, he talks about his age,
in
his
New York
own
City,
personal.
and I must have been It's one of the last times I saw my grandfather when I was a kid. And that would have been, I would say, in 1962 or something like that, 63. And he came over to our house from Florida. My aunt and my grandfather were living in Florida, and you know, they were on my mother's side of the family. So he came over, and he came into my room, and he was actually very creative. I think I got a lot of my artistic creativity from my grandfather. I mean, he was also kind of a funny, kind of crazy guy. He was wonderful for a little kid. So he came into my room, and we're looking around, and then it was, wasn't quite summer, but it was probably early spring, and we were talking, and all of a sudden he stops in my room, and he said, "What's that?" And I said, well, I called him Pup-Up. That was our nickname for him. And I said, "Pup-Up, what? What?" He says, "Dad, what's that sound?" I said, "What sound?" And I went to the window, and I was expecting to hear, I don't know, a fire engine or something. And he said, "Listen to the sound." And so I stopped, and I heard it for the first time. And it's the sound of all the cars, all the people, all the trees moving. Anything that's moving is making sound. And it's a kind of background noise for the world. And most obviously, if you're near the ocean, you hear that very clearly. But when we're going through our daily lives, we don't even recognize that. And I'm not talking about the car that goes by quickly. It's just even in the middle of the night, just, you know, put your head out the window and you hear that. It's like a shh. It's a constant sound that absorbs all the other sounds. And he taught me that. And so he pointed out, again, to something that was invisible. He pointed that out to me, and I never forgot it. And I was very, very conscious of this kind of, what did I call it, like kind of undersound, the undersound that just constantly exists. We could stop this recording right now, turn off all this equipment, have everybody in the building be absolutely silent, and if we sat right here and as much as possible lowered our breathing rate and everything, and if it was midnight or 1 in the morning and there were not many cars, after a few moments, as John Cage told us when he went in the anechoic chamber, or David Tudor doing 4 minutes and 33 seconds of silence, which is all about coming out of Zen Buddhism, we would hear a sound in this room. There would be.
All right, that's where I want to stop. That's just where I want it to stop. So I want you to understand what I'm trying to do today on my gallery hop is that every artist I'm showing you today has a very personal relationship to the art making. And I started with Gerhard Richter because his is about, as Sophia didn't know that I was going to say this later, but it's him knowing when to stop painting because he's at an age that he can't do it well anymore, and he's going to find another vocabulary to work in. So, and now you're going to see this is the big the show that's on right now at the gallery on Walker Street. And I want you to understand that when you see an installation in a gallery, this is a guy, you know, doing jumping into a pool, and his works are always about the event that you're seeing. Sometimes it's outdoors and sometimes it's indoors. And it's all about the experience of learning how to see things, as he said, when all the other noise stops and you hear what it is. So when you see this image here, what this makes me think about, when you go swimming and you come out of the water, you hear all those noises of splashing, and picture yourself coming out of the water and then walking on the side of the garden. And if you're on pavement, it feels very different. The noise, humor me, next time you go into a pool or a lake or anything, when you walk on pavement and you hear the splashing of your feet, is very different than when you go on the grass. So he's trying to get you to hear and see things that you ordinarily don't think about. Same thing of this over here, of the figure on the side. It's all about those moments of not knowing, and it's a very different show That's why I put it third and not first, because I could hear you going, if it was first, you'd say to me, Toby, this is so boring. And I'd say, well, it's not really boring. It's just different. And you see, go back one, you see the water in that little thing that you see that drip over there. It's all about the experience of these very minor things that are happening. And I want
if I can jump in for a second.
you may do whatever you want, because you're a nice person.
I think for these videos, as I've seen a few of them, you really have to be present. And what you're doing now is a very challenging task to explain what we're going to be feeling, because it's very subtle. As he said in his interview, there's not a lot happening. It's something that you just get absorbed in. And I'm just suggesting, if people have an opportunity to go and see one of Bill Viola's videos, it's a real experience, and it's a very sensitive experience, and transforming in a way.
But I want to say one other thing to that is why I would never have shown you this exhibition if I didn't show you him talking about his work first. Yeah. But the reason I'm doing it is, and why I love teaching this class for everyone here, is I feel I'm the eyes to show you who you should look at next time you go to a museum and you see a Bill Viola and you say to me, oh my God, oh wow, you know what? It's not, oh my God, wow, that is kind of interesting. And I wanted you to talk about it, hear about his grandfather, and many of you are grandparents in here, and you should realize how much of an effect you have on your grandchildren 30 and 40 years later. This was in 60 something, and now it's 2022, and it's many years later. So what I want you to do is understand, when I take you on a gallery hop, I'm not going to show you only people like Bill Viola, but I'm going to put him in context, because I want you to understand that just like some people, I love pizza, but I also like sushi, and they're just very different things. And I want you to see what the space in the gallery looks like. But if you hadn't seen the video of him explaining, you wouldn't have understood it. The last show we had at the same gallery there was water on the ground. And those are the only pieces in the show. I knew that there were very few pieces, but that's the selected works, and you can, that's all they're showing, because that is the whole gallery space. The last one was water on the ground and a video of hearing people enter a pool and coming out of it. Very different pool than this. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. And if you didn't, don't be too annoyed at me. Let's go to the next. That was the only one like that show. Now we're going to something totally different again. And this is on 69 at Madison Avenue. This is Wilfred Rembrandt. Rembrandt. Yeah.
Rembrandt. Is it this video?
That's LaToya Frazier. No, it's the one before that with the.
Before this one? These are Tommy Life in it.
You know what? Do Ruby. No, go to. Yeah, that's the one. This is the one, right?
This one? What I'm
yes,
now?
Yes,
okay,
yes.
So 1 second. I have to stop share and then share again. I know this is a bit of a complicated thing with the sound and everything. Each time when we switch, I have to move.
You're doing a great job. I think everyone should give you a clap. I'm very proud of you.
How sweet. This is leather that I'm dying on. And
I'm not sure I showed you this before, but I love this. I don't think I did.
When you're working with leather, doing pictures, wallets, and billfolds, because if you use paint, you can't do that. You can't bend it because it'll crack. Just think of all the folk that have picked cotton from the time they got into this country, even on past when slavery was abolished. Green notes represent the money that they make on the back of colored folk. You know, it's tough work, and then you ain't making no money. You get 2 cents for every pound that you pick, you know, and I couldn't make but 50 cents. I didn't want to be in the cotton fields. I would hear the old people in the pool room and in the juke joints and things that I hung up talking about civil rights. So I got very, very interested in that. They had this protest in Americus, Georgia. Things got out of hand. I got caught. And they shipped me off to the Reedsville State Penitentiary. I learned this technique in prison. I just try to remember the true scene. I try to put myself back there as a worker and men around me working. That's what I do when I do one of these. I might not can remember all these guys' names, but I got their faces. The chain gang is a big part of my life. 55-147, that's my prison number. I was the 55,147th person to go through the door of Reedsville State Penitentiary. And boy, do I thank God for seeing fit for me to come through that door for a last time. My burden down, I'm going home to live with Jesus since I laid my burden down.
Okay, now we're going to see the show that's at Hauser and Wirth, one of the most powerful galleries in the world. This guy who was in jail, did I show him to you? Any of you do remember seeing him before? Then I wasn't with this guy. I love his work. I've been following him for many, many, many years. So this just opened. It's open and it's just up now. It's the first time of work by late American artists. It's a gorgeous show. I'm sorry I can't show it to you in person because it's breathtaking. And you have to understand, when I wish I had bought some work the first time I showed it to people because I love it. And now it's one of the most successful contemporary artists in the world. I just realized I've only been teaching you guys for a few years, so I didn't show it to you. I started showing this, I think, like 8 or 9 years ago when he showed it at Nothing Gallery downtown.
And all of the works are on leather?
Yes, everything's on leather. Keep asking me questions because I know it so well, I don't know. And we uses this tool. There was another video that I showed in the past where you see him hammering it in. So again, why am I doing this in this order? I want you to see that Bill Viola and he are both exceptional artists, as is everyone else, but very different attitude towards creating art and what it's about. So here's the gallery showing you, the works, all different works, one at a time. And inquire and learn more. That means quite a few of them are still for sale. Now, you'd say to me, who owned them? So the gallery was very smart and bought quite a few of these from people that originally bought them, I think, for like $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000, and now found a way to get these works back, and they're coming back to the marketplace as a few $100,000. But the gallery installation is breathtaking. Now, this gallery does this. If you press the little finger thing, you can move around the room and actually go. You see what I mean? I get dizzy.
Can you see it well?
You're doing a great job. So they do this because they know that not everyone can get to the gallery. Now we're going to send you everything so you'll be able to see it. So don't get uptight. So this is how you'd walk into the gallery. I would meet my class right here, which I did a week ago. We stand in front and I say, come and look at this. And then we look around the whole room. And then this gallery does something that I love also. They moved, you see where the sofa is now, that's usually where there's a person sitting. And now you'll feel like you can enter the space beautifully. By the way, you're doing a great job at this, Sophia. I get
Oh,
dizzy.
I have experience with this software. It's actually, I think, pretty good. It gives you a good understanding of the space.
Right.
And many of the museums use this during COVID.
Right. I know that. I know that they did during COVID. I get dizzy doing it, but I'm happy you're doing it. But you see the way these have all been reframed. So the first time I saw these exact pieces, they did not have these gorgeous white frames and frames. Do you understand what I mean? So they're now doing it because the leather would fold down. So you see they're holding the leather in and then they make another piece around it. Now, I think he's going to become as famous as Bill Traylor, another artist who's an outsider artist. And I think he'll be as famous as, I'll get his name in a minute, the Black artist who has had a lot of work at the Phillips. Bill Traylor, I said already. I'll get the other name. But they're beautiful pieces. I hope you find them interesting.
It's all his personal story.
Yes, Jacob Lawrence. That's the other
Jacob
artist.
Lawrence, correct.
Jacob Lawrence.
It very remind you of, because he also
Yes.
gives you his whole story in
Yes.
these details.
So I hope you realize everyone except for Gerhard Richter today is about their personal stories. But I had to put Gerhard Richter in. We'll keep moving because I'm scared about time and I want to give every show some
Okay.
honor.
So
We're now going to, let's see, I don't want to miss anybody. I wonder if I should do, all right, in the row we now have is Rose Simpson. But you know what? Which one is this one? This is, let's do Ruby, let's do her, Latoya Ruby Frazier. My daughter hired her when she was in a magazine. She's a very powerful, fascinating artist.
sorry, I made him.
So Latoya Ruby Frazier's, oh, here it is. Good.
Highly collaborative. To the point that my mother is the one that orchestrates when we shoot, where we're gonna shoot. She wanted to operate the camera. And so it became important for me to look at my mother as an artist. To recognize and honor her point of view.
I like smelling things. Look at
My mom has gone far and beyond most mothers by allowing me to photograph her in these very revealing images.
You got dogs there?
I mean, we have a huge bond and a sense of camaraderie.
Hello. I'm her mom. And I don't think I'm all there sometimes. But you can talk to one of my personalities if you want to.
People think that families struggling economically don't add value to society. It became about making a family album of images day to day that defies what I see in the media. I was looking at, especially with my mom, how beautiful she really is. I was combating stereotypes of someone like my mother and I, who are often depicted in the media in the most dehumanizing way as poor, worthless, or on welfare. We find a way to deal with these types of problems on our own through photographing each other. I realized that it's important to give the camera to my family and also become the subject of the work. Self-portrait March 10 a.m. was shot after I buried my grandmother in Pittsburgh. And I felt like more than my soul went with her. So at that moment, because my grandmother died from pancreatic cancer and diabetes, and I've been fighting lupus all my life as well, it became important for me to look at why we're dying. I've always been in the shadow of the steel mill. Braddock is 5 miles or less outside of Pittsburgh. Braddock went from 20,000 or more people to less than 2,000 today. And if you live in proximity to the mill, you're really breathing in toxins.
All right,
What
let's
you're
stop
seeing
right
here
there.
is
You got the idea of it.
I'm-
Now I'm going to show you the show that's up right now that I think is brilliant. It's an installation that she did of the care workers from Maryland. And it's an installation where there's only one, oh, that's the other gallery. We'll do that after that.
Yeah, 1 second. I have to get the link out. Somehow it closed. Okay, you continue talking.
I'll talk about it. What she did is she did a whole installation in the gallery that have, in hospitals, when you have your drips on I forgot what that's called. It's a metal, somebody say what it is, because I can't remember. It's a, where your IV is attached. What is that called? Thanks.
Everybody knows what you mean. Everybody knows what you mean.
But I want somebody to say the word. I don't remember what it's called. It's where the drip is. Anyway, all the photographs it's a single room installation, and they have images on both sides. I'm so sad I can't bring you there. It will blow you away. My students did not want to leave. We were there for 20 minutes. It's only a 3-hour class, and we had 8 shows to see, and they wouldn't leave because they read everything. And what she did, she wanted to show all the caregivers. She got a commission to do all the caregivers in Maryland, images of them and the stories they told. It's such a powerful, and
Wow.
People in my class said to me, it's called a monument to the community of health workers in Baltimore during the COVID piece. And it was commissioned by the Carnegie Mellon Institute for the International. And somebody said to me, who's going to buy it? And I said, there's an edition of 3. There are 2 and the artist proof, and I'm sure they're going to all be in great museum collections. When you walk into the room, first of all, the photographs, she's a great photographer, but you feel, so she doesn't only do this about her family. I want to show you the video of her family. She's doing this. She goes into the lives of other people. So our daughter, I don't know if you know her, but her name is Madison Kahn. I hope she works with you once. She commissioned, it was my idea. She was going to Flint, Michigan, and she commissioned for Elle magazine, LaToya Ruby Frazier, to come with her and tell the story of Flint, Michigan. It won tons of awards. And if you want to look at it, we'll send it to you also. Send the article from Elle magazine. So this is what she always does. She finds things that tell a story, whether it's about her family, about health workers, about anything else, and she tries to get you in there. I'm so sorry that I'm running into late time, and I apologize. I hope you guys are enjoying it anyway. I now have to pick which of my last 2 I want to see. I think we're going to go to Dirty Windows because I love that show too, which is the last show. We left out one, Rose Simpson, but you can do that on your own later. This is an amazing artist called Tala Madami, and she talks about, you look at a beautiful sky, but then you write on the windows and you make little stick figures and all these things about what are you seeing and what are you not seeing. She did her video, I'm happy I'm not showing you, is very intense. It's about how women are treated in the world and it's called An Excrement Woman, who goes around this beautiful place, and everywhere she sits and everywhere else is something different. But I wanted to show you the, let's see, let's see this first. Yeah. All right.
Want to see that? Yes, Toby.
Yes. Will you guys stay with me for another 5 minutes, please?
Affect your senses. I'm not biased towards the visual more than the metabiological, an extreme reaction of laughter or even offense. I've sort of became obsessed with the idea of the cinematic light and how there is something quite magical in the celluloid, in the film, in the light through that, you know. And I think obviously we are the sort of children of this new magic from 150 years ago. It seeps so much into our unconscious. I'm very interested in the idea of magic in painting and sculpture, about the sort of magic objects, an artifact that's man-made can all of a sudden hold so much more power than the maker intended or wanted or could even imagine. How do you actually image an idea? But my work is very much like imagination based. So it is really about finding a way of going in places and then in yourself. So I am really interested in always painting beyond my abilities to then learn from it or be surprised by it. The subject for me is a lot about freedom. Freedom for myself in the way that I paint, and freedom in the figures that I've chosen and the way they are on the canvas. And I try to literalize that by allowing a lot of freedom with the way that I paint. The movement, the thinking is all through the brushstrokes. So it's not as still in the sense that a photograph is a still, because there's a lot of movement in the making and the brushstrokes. It's such a presence of mind, right? And then there's another great idea that like you're supposed to paint at the speed of your thinking, which I think is what
I love that statement.
People's stylistic choices more than learned aesthetics, because then it becomes much more about the person who's making it. If that's what you want to make work about.
Now, I'm going to show you the work now for a minute. Thank you. You're so nice for staying on. I do apologize how late I'm going, but let's look at the images. I want to show you these. These are so gorgeous. When you see these paintings, they're beautiful of sky. When you see these, you're gonna say to me, wow, she really can paint. But these are clouds, but then she does go to the next one. That one has excrement on it. I don't want to talk as much about that, even though she's interested in that. Not that one either. That's the one. I'm in love with these. So if you look carefully, you'll see you're looking through dirty glass at these beautiful images of the sky. And you see little stick figures. You see all the way on the left, they're little. So it's as if you're drawing on a window. And the reason I wanted you to see this is I wanted to go back to Gerhard Richter and Bill Viola. So you look at these are huge paintings. These are like 8 feet tall or 10 feet tall. And you first see it and all you see is sky. And then you see these little figures on top of it. And she calls it dirty windows because you're obscured by what you feel at a time when you're seeing something. So for instance, I told my class last week when I went there, I will never forget September 11th, ever. It was the most beautiful blue sky. And then all these planes were going into buildings and you couldn't stop those images in your head. And I think when you see a beautiful image of a sky and you're looking through a window, and if it's dirty, you see other things. Let's go to the next image and you can go press the side thing again. I don't know if I love seeing clouds and sky, but then again, you see what she drew on the window that she's looking through it. Let's go to the next. I know I'm late. She's funny also. It's called Trash Man. And it reminds me of Meryl Euclides, who you remember I showed you early. We interviewed her and she always says you should never call a sanitation worker a garbage man because it's your garbage. So she's playing with something like that too. She's a breathtakingly talented. That is so funny. That looks like an animated cloud. you know, it looks like a cloud, and then all of a sudden you have the creature going, oh, let me out of here, let me out of here, let me out of here. And go to the next one. Again, they're beautiful paintings, and the clouds are really legs now. They're like floating in shape. So it's about what she's thinking of when she sees things. It's a beautiful installation. There again, it's a fire in a building, but the sky is so beautiful behind it. And then that's the room. I'm not going to show you the video now because it'll freak you out. The video is very intense. It's in the back room, and you can see it on your own. Let's get back to all of you as a group so I can see you and say thank you for being with us. I know I'm late, and I apologize. I hope you enjoyed it. Oh, thank you. I like that clapping, Joe. That looks good. That's a good thing. Anyway, anyone have anything to say? I can stay on for another minute or two if you have any questions. Thank you for reminding me. I can message recording. I'm in New York. Any gallery recommendations? Yeah, all the ones I showed you are open during that, so you'll get that, Judy. So all those shows are up there. Richter's more art than about, yes, that's true. Very good comment by Jane. Yes, Richter's more about art than the other people are. Very spiritual work. Yes, I agree. Healing Silence of White Words, great. Does the artist get some of the money from the higher prices? Oh, he's not alive anymore. It's so sad, but the estate does. Relationship between the work of Jacob Lawrence. Yes, I said it later. You are totally correct. Yes. Do you know if there are any prints of, I don't know. You know what? I can try and do homework and find out about that. Oh, the info says that the class is until 1:30. No, is that...
We've got 5 more minutes. That's fine.
Great. Oh, I love that. Oh, my clock was wrong. I thought I was late, so I'm fine. So wait, let's go to that last artist. I'd love to do Rose.
Okay, if you're ready to hang on, let's go to the last artist.
I'm sorry, people left already, though. I feel terrible. All right, I thought I was late, so I was trying to behave.
Well, we nearly have to. We've got a few more minutes. We've done this. Tony Arsler.
Yes. Oh my God, I love Tony Arsler.
Okay, so do I. He's one of the first artists that I saw.
So I'm obsessed with him. I've been following him all my career.
So should we see a few minutes?
Yes, it's great. It's 4 minutes. You'll love every second of it.
My name is Tony Arsler, and we are at my studio in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. Often when I see people go into a museum, there's this statistic that they look at a painting for 1.5 seconds.
It's not true. It's 3 seconds.
And of course, with an installation or moving image, you kind of throw that off. But the beauty of it is to let it unfold. And the trick of art making, I guess, is to make it a comfortable space or an uncomfortable space, a dynamic space, let's call it that. In the early 90s, I fell upon these very small video projectors, which I had never seen before. They just came onto the market. This was one of these aha moments for me, and took it out of the box and started playing with it. And I guess naturally just videoed a face and reprojected it onto a small doll, which I had around the studio, a kind of wedding doll about this big with a kind of whited out face. I think I was looking at the Steiner use of dolls, where they had these kind of blank faces and kids would read into the face. So I immediately put this small video face onto the doll and saw this, you know, kind of transvestite, because it was my face on a woman's body about this big in a wedding gown. And I immediately started shooting scripts and thinking about what these kind of electronic effigies could say or do, and what this world was all about, because it seemed to me as though this character had 1 foot in media space and 1 foot in sculptural space, which was very exciting to me. So I began to think about these characters as electronic effigies that were existing between two spaces in a kind of liminal space. Untitled MPD is a very important work for me in that it's the kind of culmination of my interest in multiple personality disorder. There's something about the 25 heads as a matrix. There's a kind of tension between the human quality of the faces and the mathematical lineup in the sculptural element. If you look at the way that people are starting to talk about multiple personality, they use the term channeling and switching channels. So people switch from one person to the next, but there's also a kind of metaphor and an analogy to television channel switching. But I see it as a kind of harbinger for the future, you know, that we live in our head, that we spend so much time looking at these screens, and that there's this separation which continues into the other works as well. Then we have this notion of people going on the internet and changing their personality or having these images of themselves however they want, you know. The end loop is that actually the reason we go to all these technologies, the reason we sit in front of all these screens and iPads and phones and things is that it's part of our evolutionary process to live vicariously through it, but not even vicariously, to live actually through that. The challenge for every generation is how to take that technology and use it to activate people's creativity and not to have them be pacified, you know. We're doomed otherwise.
So that's the show. That's the show that's on now at LEHMAN MAUPIN, and the show is beautiful. The pieces are new, and he's working with figures. Can we get to that quickly? I know we're a minute or two late, but it's a beautiful installation. The front room has these little figures where these are little videos on these large figures on the wall. There's a whole room of these, and only small sections have the videos working. See, like right there and right on the breast, right in the stomach. So there are a few of them, but they're almost like collage bodies. And in the back room, there are all these beautiful, I mean, that's a Buddha, that's on the back wall over there. And then you get to the back room. Oh, it's not showing you that. The back room, installation, go to installation works. That's it. Now you can see it. So you walk in the room, you see this, keep going. That's in the back room. And then in the back room, I'll see that that's the back. Oh, this is so gorgeous. He put down these things and he projects all the different things in the room. My students, very typical SVA students, wanted to go in this space. And they said to me, can't you talk to them and let us go in there? And I said, no, I'm not going to ask them. I'm not, because you're not allowed to. So one of my students went to the desk and said, our teacher said we can't go in the back. Can't you let us go in the back? And they said, if you go to the back, you're all kicked out of the gallery. So I'm just letting you know, you're supposed to stand. I know, I can't understand students. I've been teaching for years, and I try and get them. These are the same students I got into the Gerhard Richter show early, but they wanted to be in there because I'm sure it would look beautiful from inside, but there's a little line in the front where it says you can't go in. Anyway, I hope you had a great day. It's beautiful. So you see all these different images being projected on these pieces there, and you see flowers. It's gorgeous. So this goes on for like it's a 10-minute loop.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you all
so
for being
we
here.
managed to see that. Yeah,
We did.
fantastic.
You're welcome. And yes, if you're in New York, you can get my number from Ari. And there are no prints. I answered that question. I don't think so. I'm happy that this was your first time and you enjoyed it. The tours Judith asked Ari about that. And
I'll send out all the links, everybody, okay? Because
Yeah.
I see a few people are asking. We're going to send out the links with the dates and everything, and you'll have the information. Thank you so much, Tobi. Toda rabba. It was fascinating as usual, and we're looking forward to the next time. Have a great, I'm wishing you already Chag Pesach, Kasher and Sameach, because I'm not going to be around for the next few weeks. and hope to see you all soon.
All right. Have fun, everyone. Thank you for joining. Great to see
Bye-bye.
people I know on here. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.